Ji-hen, a girl from a poor family, had to start working young. On her first day as a receptionist at a shopping center, she accidentally mistreated a VIP customer, thinking he was just a regular person. This VIP was Suho, the son of a powerful businessman, who got upset when Ji-hen did not recognize his special license plate and directed him incorrectly. Despite her immediate apology, Suho was unforgiving, interpreting her lack of hand gestures as disrespectful. He grew angrier when Ji-hen's colleague insulted him, thinking it was Ji-hen who had spoken. When the colleague tried to clarify, Suho pushed him, causing an injury. Ji-hen, always sensible, defended her colleague, which made Suho even angrier. The situation escalated when the shopping center's manager arrived and demanded Ji-hen apologize to keep her job and protect everyone's employment, as offending Suho could have severe consequences. Under pressure, Ji-hen reluctantly knelt and begged for forgiveness. Although Suho was initially harsh due to his own personal frustrations with his family, pressuring him to marry someone he disliked, he eventually realized he had overreacted and left the scene. However, the incident was recorded by bystanders and shared widely, adding another layer of complexity to Ji-hen's challenging first day. After Ji-hen's kneeling incident was caught on video and went viral online, the company's stock prices dropped, causing Suho's father, the chairman, to scold him severely. Suspecting that Suho was acting out because he was unhappy with the arranged marriage to Lady Cha, his father demanded he fix the mess. Suho tried to resolve the situation by giving Ji-hen a large sum of money, mistakenly thinking she posted the video online to get money due to her poor background. However, Ji-hen, who actually knelt to protect her colleagues, was disgusted by his assumption and refused the money. Suddenly, Suho fell ill, vomiting and collapsing. Ji-hen, thinking quickly, took him to the hospital. She found the money he had tried to give her earlier and, after initially leaving it, took it to keep it safe, fearing it might be stolen. At the hospital, Suho received devastating news. He had terminal cancer with only 6 months to live. Overwhelmed and feeling lost, he ignored Ji-hen when she tried to return the money and left the hospital in despair. Back at a lavish party, Suho put on a show, giving a 100-carat necklace to Cha and pretending to be in love, only to break down once the cameras left. Meanwhile, Ji-hen's simple life contrasted sharply with Suho's drama. She was happy with a modest birthday gift from her boyfriend, while Cha, excited about Suho's call, rushed to his house, unaware of his true state. When Cha rang the doorbell, a drunk woman in a red nightgown answered. Inside, Suho was passed out drunk. The woman quickly explained that she was hired by Suho to act out this scenario to push Cha away. Despite her denial of any wrongdoing, Cha, feeling humiliated and enraged, especially after the woman in red suggested Suho didn't want to marry her, hit her with a bag. Cha threw a wad of money into the pool to insult the woman, then stormed out, discarding her blood-stained bag in a trash can. The woman in red, overcome with emotion, tried to retrieve the money from the pool, but became dizzy and fell in. The woman named Gun shared a tough life with her sister Jihan. They lived with their gambling-addicted mother, who had squandered all their savings and borrowed heavily, jeopardizing their home. Gun had taken a nightclub job to help pay off these debts. That night, after Suho woke up, he found Gun unresponsive in the pool, having apparently drowned. When Suho saw Gun unconscious in the pool, he quickly jumped in to help her, but it was too late. She had already stopped breathing. At the scene was Minel, Suho's family lawyer, who shockingly realized the victim was his girlfriend, Ji-hen's younger sister. Suho, confused from his drunkenness the night before, couldn't grasp how Gun had died at his house. Ji-hen arrived soon after, devastated by her sister's death. Minok, Ji-hen's boyfriend, suspected Cha might be involved since he found a pen at the scene that Cha had previously taken. Shortly after, the police took Gun's body and detained Suho, who was quickly released due to his family's influence. Back home, Suho's father confronted him, but Suho was dismissive, suggesting his father had already judged him. The chairman summoned Minel and Minok, querying their thoughts on the incident. Minel speculated that a drunken Suho might have accidentally caused Gun's fatal injury, leading to her drowning. The chairman offered Minel and Minok checks to discreetly settle the matter. Minel then confronted Cha with the pen found at the scene, but she denied her involvement. Despite her denial, Minok later confirmed Cha's presence at Suho's house that night through surveillance footage, which showed her entering Suho's room and indicated she might have struck Gun. Facing the evidence, Cha admitted her actions. Minel, torn between his long-standing relationship and a lucrative offer, faced a moral dilemma. Meanwhile, Jihen dealt with her grief and financial strain, unable to afford her sister's funeral costs. Minok, having uncovered the truth about Cha's involvement, decided to confront her with the video evidence, forcing her to admit her guilt. Cha, overwhelmed, asked Minel for help, who reassured her he would handle everything. Minok gave Cha the only video evidence of her at the scene, and later told Jihen that her younger sister Gun was alone at the hotel the night of the incident. At the police station, Suho, when questioned about anyone else being present that night, remembered calling Cha to break off their engagement, but lied to the police, saying he couldn't recall anything. He then confronted Cha, who falsely claimed she was with another man at the time. Frustrated by the ongoing deceit, Suho received Gun's supposed will from his secretary, initially scolding him for overstepping, but later surprised to recognize Gun as Jihen's sister upon reading the document. The next day, the police informed Jihen that Gun had passed away from getting drunk and possibly taking her own life. Jihen, unable to accept this explanation, demanded further investigation, but her pleas were dismissed, although she managed to convince the police chief to not close the case yet. During this confrontation, Suho, witnessing Jihen's grief, was reminded of his own mother's death and felt compelled to discover the truth about Gun's death. Jihen, determined for answers, was falsely informed by Minok that Gun had intentionally ended her life and was given a business card to find more about her sister's secret life. She met Kang, who shockingly revealed that Gun had been working as a prostitute to support her family. Devastated, Jihen returned to the funeral home, learning a mysterious man had paid for Gun's funeral. She suspected Minok, but couldn't find him. Unknown to her, Suho, who was observing from a distance, was the one who paid for the funeral. Meanwhile, Minok was with the company president, presenting him a check with an amount written as 10 billion, a gesture that left the president astounded. Suho, grappling with uncertainty about his role in Gun's death, observed Jihen closely, feeling increasingly guilty as he watched her suffer. Despite his deteriorating health, Suho sought to uncover the truth by hiring experts to restore deleted surveillance footage. But unbeknownst to him, these experts, including Kangi and the supposed will on Gun's phone, were all manipulated by Minok. When Jihen decided to pursue an autopsy for further clarity, Minok, who controlled the situation, remained unbothered. The autopsy confirmed Gun died from head injuries compounded by drowning while intoxicated, a result Minok orchestrated. Heartbroken and resigned, Jihen accepted the grim findings and cremated her sister. Later, Jihen discovered her family home was lost to her mother's debts. As she prepared to leave, she found a birthday gift from Gun, stirring mixed emotions. When a man tried to block her from leaving the house and became threatening, Jihen defended herself, and Suho intervened, protecting her. Distraught, Jihen contemplated her bleak reality in the rain. Suho, witnessing her despair, comforted her, fearing she might harm herself. Although Suho felt a deep connection and wanted to care for Jihyun, he could not reveal his terminal illness, instead claiming he needed to be repaid 10 million won to keep her close. Meanwhile, Soo-chol, Suho's half-brother and rival from the Cha family, aimed to expose Suho for Gun's death to tarnish his reputation. As media gathered for the revelation, Minuk intervened, knowing the truth could harm his position. Cha also arrived, threatening Soo-chol with his secret stock purchases under another identity, but Soo-chol remained unmoved by her threats. In this web of manipulation and hidden truths, Suho asked Jihyun to stay in the car, prioritizing her safety as he navigated the complex dynamics of his family and their power struggles. At a press conference, Suho and his older brother, Soo-chol, had a tense reunion. Soo-chol demanded that Suho transfer 50% of his shares to him in exchange for keeping Suho's secret. Suho, unbothered, laughed and replied that he had nothing to fear, even if the truth came out. Just as Suho was about to confess, Jihyun entered the hall. Seeing her, Suho, who had been fearless, became hesitant. Remembering Jihyun's pain and despair, he couldn't bring himself to reveal the truth. This angered Soo-chol, who stormed onto the stage, pulling Suho down and causing a scene that the reporters eagerly photographed. In the chaos, Minok, Jihyun's boyfriend, stayed by her side to protect her. Suho, overwhelmed, left the hall under the reporters' barrage of questions. Meanwhile, their father learned about Soo-chol's actions and, in a fit of anger, threw his wine glass at him. However, the glass struck Minok instead, causing him to bleed, but he stayed silent. Later, Suho found Jihyun and gently tended to her injuries. He took her to his restaurant, ordered a variety of food for her, and when she showed no interest, pretended to be irritated and asked the chef to throw it all away. Jihyun, not wanting to waste food, started eating, understanding Suho's gesture. The next day, Suho resumed his proud, arrogant persona, forcing Jihyun to sign a document promising to repay 10 million won. His aim was to stay informed about Jihyun's life. He then helped her family by paying off their debts and reclaiming their home. When Jihyun went to Minok, hoping to see her boyfriend during this difficult time, he was cold and distant, a far cry from the person she once loved. He even drove her to the place where her mother was detained for fraud, but announced their breakup, leaving Jihyun heartbroken. Jihyun, devastated by her sister's recent passing and Minok's rejection, broke down in tears. Suho, watching her from afar, felt the weight of her sorrow. Her mother, released from prison, was devastated to hear of her youngest daughter's death, blaming Jihyun for holding such a modest funeral. Jihyun collapsed and finally told her mother the truth. Her younger sister, Gyun, had worked at an illegal job placement center to pay off her mother's debt. This dangerous job was the reason she lost her life. Shocked, their mother hurried to confront the middle-aged man, Tong, who had previously offered to help by placing Gyun there for money. Initially, she had thought he was joking, but now realized the tragic consequences. However, Tong brushed off her concerns and insisted they should focus on finding out the real cause of Gyun's death, hinting that things weren't as simple as they seemed. To investigate further, the mother tried to get information from Tong, but he refused to reveal anything, although she sensed he might be hiding evidence. Meanwhile, Jihyun was at work when her director instructed her to assist a VIP guest. When she arrived, she was shocked to see the guest was her ex-boyfriend Minok, who had broken up with her just a day ago. Now, he was happily shopping with a rich girl, Cha. As Cha chose an expensive vest for Minok, Jihyun couldn't help but comment that a slimmer fit would suit him better. Cha glanced at Jihyun, feeling like she had seen her before, but couldn't place where. Later, Minok tried to explain things to Jihyun, but she told him she wouldn't interfere in his life anymore. When Cha returned from the bathroom, she spotted Suho, Jihyun's boss, in the store and quickly pulled Minok away. However, Jihyun, carrying a stack of items, stumbled, and Suho, seeing this, made some rude remarks, but ended up taking her away, leaving Cha looking suspicious. Cha then realized that Ji-hoon was the family member of the girl she had hurt. Back at his company, Minok received flowers and a gift containing a USB drive. The video on the USB showed the incident involving Gi-hoon at the pool, which rattled Minok. Then, a mysterious call informed him that they knew he was covering up the case and demanded he follow further instructions. Meeting Taung, who had helped hide the evidence, Minok was told to ask Cha for 1 billion won, with the promise of a 30% share after the case was closed. At the same time, Suho visited his doctor, who confirmed there was no way to extend his life. Resigned, Suho decided to spend his remaining days living fully, putting aside his anger. Just then, Ji-hoon asked him for help in finding out what truly happened to her sister. Suho, uncertain if he wanted to protect her or simply felt pity, chose to leave instead and find peace elsewhere. Ji-hoon's mother, still desperate, met with Taung again, but he passed out after a few drinks. Ji-hoon, worried for her mother, went to see her, but soon they heard a loud banging at the door. Hiding behind a desk, they listened as thugs entered, led by Canyon Bell from the Job Placement Center, demanding the video evidence of Cha at the pool. Meanwhile, Minok faced more trouble when an employee who had helped cover up the case confronted him. Knowing Minok had received a large sum to keep quiet, the employee demanded 1 billion won, threatening to expose him if he refused. Minok was forced to borrow money from Cha, who, without asking questions, agreed to lend it to him, leaving Minok feeling trapped by the mounting pressures around him. As more people began pressuring Minok for money, he devised a plan. Meanwhile, Suho, now aware of the surveillance footage, reconsidered his initial reluctance. He arranged to buy the video for 100 million won, but Taung raised the price to 1 billion. Later, Taung set up a meeting, telling Suho and Minok to meet him at 11 p.m. that night. Unknown to them, Ji-hoon's mother followed, determined to confront Taung. When Ji-hoon's mother found Taung, she poured gasoline on him, ready to end it all. Startled, Taung pulled out the USB and tried to negotiate, claiming he had planned everything for Ji-hoon's sake. However, his real intent was to profit. On the other hand, Minok had secretly arranged with Canyon Bell to retrieve the video, promising him 1 billion won in return. That evening, at the meeting location, Ji-hoon's mother was stunned to see Minok. Ji-hoon's ex-boyfriend was also involved. Minok, realizing she was there, signaled for a truck to stop, but it was too late. Canyon Bell drove the truck toward Taung's car, causing a massive explosion. When the car exploded, Canyon Bell was furious, realizing he hadn't gotten the valuable surveillance video worth 1 billion. Minok, however, was secretly relieved that Bell was gone, thinking this would end the matter. He then struck Bell with a brick when he wasn't paying attention, killing him. For Ji-hoon, the tragedy was unbearable. She had lost her only 2 family members. Her younger sister Gyun, who had worked at a nightclub to help pay off debts, had tragically passed away. Their mother, who had recently been released from prison, had tried to investigate Gyun's death, but met the same fate. Overwhelmed with grief, Ji-hoon felt numb and eventually went to the rooftop, unable to process the loss. Fortunately, Suho had been quietly protecting her, and he rushed to her in time. After Ji-hoon locked herself in her apartment for 3 days, Suho tried reaching her by phone and knocking on her door, but got no response. He climbed up to her window, broke the glass after several attempts, and entered, only to find the room eerily quiet. Flashbacks of his childhood haunted him as he remembered a similar scene with his mother. Just then, Ji-hoon emerged from the bathroom, and Suho sighed with relief. She explained she'd been showering and told him to leave, but then she broke down in tears. Suho had been right. She had contemplated something drastic, but stopped when she heard him knocking. The grief still lingered, so Ji-hoon went to the swimming pool where Gyun had died. She drank and reminisced about happier times with her sister, then called Soo-ho, thanking him for everything. Sensing something off, Soo-ho rushed to find her, but was hit by a car on the way. Ignoring his injuries, he continued to the pool, where he comforted Ji-hoon, who was touched by his support. Afterward, Soo-ho shared his painful memories with her, including his childhood guilt after his mother's death. When he admitted he would jump with her, Ji-hoon pulled him back, and they fell down the stairs. The experience gave her a new perspective, and she decided to leave her painful past behind, moving into a new apartment with a friend. To her surprise, Soo-ho moved in next door, and their relationship grew deeper. They shared meals, and Ji-hoon found comfort knowing Soo-ho was always by her side. Together, they started investigating Yoon's death. Ji-hoon searched for witnesses, while Soo-ho discovered that Kang-in-bel, the man who introduced Gyeon to the nightclub, had received a large sum of money after her accident. The police linked Bell to the death of Ji-hoon's mother, raising more suspicions. Soo-ho then checked Bell's call history and found repeated contact with Minok. Meanwhile, Minok approached Cha for 1 billion won without explaining why, and she agreed. He then took her to a security guard who held the original surveillance video, threatening the guard to leave town and keep quiet. Cha was shocked by Minok's ruthless side, but soon restored her calm demeanor. She even introduced him to a TV station director and gave him a gift. When Minok opened it, he panicked. It was the same tie he had worn when he attacked Bell. Minok thought he'd disposed of it, but here it was, a reminder of that night. Days earlier, Bell had caused a car accident that killed Ji-hoon's mother. Minok had tried to finish him off, but ended up in a chase up the mountain, where he pushed Bell off a cliff. However, Bell had survived, clinging to life to expose Minok's true nature to Cha. Though shocked, Cha decided to keep Minok's secret, asking only that he consult her before making any drastic moves. She even gave Bell 1 billion won to disappear, unaware that Ji-hoon had witnessed the transaction. Suspicious, Ji-hoon took a job at a restaurant connected to Soo-ho's social circle, determined to uncover the truth. Cha, still Soo-ho's fiancé in name, felt uneasy about Ji-hoon's presence, but remained polite, not yet aware of the determination behind Ji-hoon's actions. Ji-han met Cha, who asked if they had met before. Ji-han admitted she'd once helped carry things for Cha. While no one was paying attention, Ji-han discreetly checked through Cha's company documents and left a recording pen in a pen holder. As she was leaving, she overheard Soo-ho and his brother Soo-chol discussing their past, learning that Soo-ho, who always appeared cheerful, had suffered deeply since childhood. Meanwhile, Minok grew anxious about Kang-in-bel, fearing the consequences if Bell wasn't dealt with soon. He went to Bell's former office, where he found a secret notebook hidden in the ceiling. But just as he was about to leave, Kang-in-bel attacked him from behind, furious that Minok had left him homeless and on the run. Minok, desperate, promised to help Bell escape if he let him go. Satisfied, Bell released him, and Minok took the notebook to Soo-chol. When Soo-chol saw his name in the notebook, he was terrified. It contained a list of drug buyers connected to Bell. If exposed, Soo-chol's dream of inheriting the Chan family fortune would be ruined, and he could end up in prison. Minok urged him to protect Bell so that the secret would stay hidden. Ji-han and Soo-ho, determined to uncover the truth, investigated further. A reporter informed Ji-han that the police had stopped looking into Bell's case, something Soo-ho also learned from his lawyer. But unknown to them, Minok had arranged this to keep his promise to Soo-chol. Soo-ho, however, publicly admitted to the media that drugs were used at a previous party and invited them to monitor the investigation, creating more pressure for the police. To lure Bell out, Ji-han used Cha's phone to message Bell, setting up a meeting at an old location. The next morning, the police, under media pressure, set up an ambush. Bell arrived, but received a warning call from Minok to flee. Despite this, the police captured him, enraging President Chan, who had already paid Minok a fortune to cover up the case. Seeing the situation slip out of control, Suchol, with information on Suho and Jihan's presence near the accident scene, planned to frame Suho for orchestrating Jihan's mother's death. Following the plan, Minok visited Bell in prison, posing as a lawyer, and bribed him to testify that Suho had ordered him to cause the accident. Minok promised Bell a large payout and an escape plan if he cooperated. Reluctantly, Bell agreed. Minok then bribed a police officer to ensure Bell's testimony would support his scheme. The next day, Minok secretly handed Bell a dagger, hinting that he should take his own life if things went wrong. To stage a scene, Minok cut his palm with a knife while a police officer raised his gun. Confused, Bell was reminded of Minok's promise to let him escape if he testified against Suho. But on the way to court, Bell was brought to a deserted location where Minok was waiting. Minok taunted him, saying there was no escape. Realizing he'd been trapped, Bell tried to flee, but Minok grabbed the gun from the officer and shot Bell. Just as he was about to fire again, Suho appeared, shouting for Minok to stop. Reporters, alerted by Suho, arrived at the scene, filming everything. Even then, Minok tried to claim that Bell was attempting to escape and they were only restraining him. Bell, seeing an opportunity, shouted to expose the truth. When Kang and Bell exposed that Minok had ordered him to frame Suho and cause Jihan's mother's accident, Minok betrayed him to keep the truth hidden. Minok, however, dismissed Bell's claims, accusing him of fabricating evidence for money and warning Suho that making the case public would only put the Chan family at risk. Despite Minok's threats, the TV station aired the reporter's interview with Jihan, revealing everything. Shocked, Minok called the TV station director, realizing his prior efforts to silence the reporter had failed. Suho, who had observed Minok leaving the director's office, confronted him. As Jihan saw the news, she was thrilled that the truth was finally surfacing, but Suho felt conflicted. He feared how Jihan would react if she knew the full extent of his involvement. After much internal struggle, he resolved to tell her the truth. Meanwhile, Minok and Cha were also concerned. With Bell's arrest, Minok feared everything they tried to hide would be exposed. He expressed his desire to protect Cha, but she reassured him that she would handle the situation. Just as Suho was preparing to admit the truth to Jihan, he received shocking news. The detention center holding Bell had caught fire, and Bell was killed in the blaze. The police quickly closed the case, and a justice-focused TV program advocating for vulnerable individuals was also mysteriously canceled. Minok had been paid 10 billion won by the Chan Group to cover up the truth. One evening, Jihan was visited by her sister's best friend, who handed her a blood-stained handbag. She explained that on the night June died, Cha had struck Jun with it. Jihan's friend revealed that Minok had bribed and threatened her to keep quiet. Jihan sent the bag for testing, confirming it was her sister's blood. Initially, Jihan wanted to share this with the reporter she had trusted, but she soon discovered that the reporter had been in secret contact with Minok. Realizing the betrayal, Jihan turned to Suho as the only person she could trust. Although Cha was still his fiancée, she revealed everything, including Cha's involvement. Stunned, Suho confronted Cha, who admitted she had attacked Gyeon, claiming jealousy over seeing another woman in Suho's home. She hadn't intended to cause Gyeon's death and had hidden the truth, fearing Suho's involvement would be exposed. Suho assured her they would handle it together, and they went to the police station. There, they met the officer whom Minok had bribed. The officer stated that although Gyeon had a head injury, her official cause of death was drowning, preventing the case from being reopened without further evidence. Feeling trapped, Suho realized he couldn't help Jihan without more influence. To gain leverage and access to information, he decided to publicly propose to Cha, even though he didn't love her. In front of reporters, he knelt and offered her a ring. Though she knew it was only a pretense, Cha accepted, aligning herself with him as they carried forward a shared facade. That night, they became engaged, bound by secrets they could no longer ignore. One night, Suho, drunk, showed up at Jihan's door and poured out all the pain he had kept hidden in his heart. Midway through, he collapsed, suffering intense pain from his illness. Jihan rushed out in the rain to buy him medicine. When she returned, Suho, now more composed, threw the medicine bag on the ground, saying he didn't need it. Frustrated, Jihan questioned why he came to her instead of Cha. Suho admitted that he missed her, leaving Jihan stunned. She left, but found 2 memory cards on her bed. One contained a video of Suho's confession, revealing he had been in the room when her sister was killed. Devastated, Jihan's mind began to unravel. Later, Minok revealed more truths. Suho had brought Jihan's sister home to provoke Cha, which led Cha to attack her sister, even throwing money into the pool that indirectly led to her death. Hearing this, Jihan's tears fell. Minok told her the world belongs to the rich and that the poor, like her, have no power or right to justice. His words shattered Jihan's last hope. Meanwhile, Suho accompanied Cha to choose a wedding dress, but his mind was preoccupied with Jihan. Cha noticed his absence, only to learn he had left to find Jihan, who had run off. Suho found her in a bar, dressed provocatively and heavily intoxicated. She mocked him, declaring that she had come to love money and wanted him to show her what life was like for the rich. Filled with guilt, Suho agreed. Jihan demanded an extravagant house, ate expensive steak, and even made Suho raise the wages of the restaurant staff where she used to work. Cha, upset, questioned Suho's motives, sensing he cared more for Jihan than for her. Jihan then discarded a cherished watch her sister had given her and replaced it with one worth a fortune, which she immediately dismissed as worthless, gifting it to an elderly woman collecting trash. Unable to bear it, Suho asked how long she intended to continue this. Coldly, Jihan replied, "Until I die." The next morning, Suho, worried when he heard her alarm ringing without response, broke into her apartment and found her unconscious, rushing her to the hospital, ignoring Cha, who watched silently. In the hospital, Suho, exhausted from caring for Jihan, faced her harsh rejection. She threatened to pull out her IV if he didn't leave. Cha also came, and Jihan arrogantly declared that Suho's desire to marry Cha was only to help her. Stunned, Cha realized Suho's true intentions. The next day, she called off the engagement, leaving Suho aware of Jihan's impact. But Jihan's revenge had only just begun. She demanded that Suho marry her, forcing him into a public engagement. She then posted a photo of them together, causing a media frenzy and shocking everyone. Suho's father, enraged, instructed Minok to investigate the broken engagement. Meanwhile, Jihan, seeking revenge, joined forces with Suho's brother and stepmother, who viewed Suho as a rival for the family inheritance. Shortly after, Jihan and Suho held a private wedding ceremony, much to his father's disapproval. Despite being married, Jihan kept her distance, insisting on separate rooms and refusing his presence. Though Suho continued preparing dinners for her, she ignored him, and he endured his isolation, aware that her motive for marriage was far from love. With the help of Suho's stepmother and brother, Jihan became the general director of the Chan Group's charity fund. She used her position to build a positive public image, doing good deeds that attracted media attention. Coordinated with Suho's donations, the press portrayed Jihan as an angel in society. Seeing her newfound influence, Suho's father summoned Minok, determined to understand Jihan's real intentions. After Chairman Chan learned about Suho's death, he summoned Minok, scolding him for failing to control Jihan. Though Chan favored Suho as his son, he prioritized the company's reputation and ordered Minok to handle Jihan. However, Minok, who had a history of dark deeds, couldn't bring himself to harm her. Instead, he offered her money to leave, warning that she would be in danger if she stayed. Jihan, determined, ignored him and exposed incriminating documents about the Chan group. Furious, Chairman Chan fired Minok and assigned Director Nam to eliminate Jihan. One day, while Suho was working with Cha, he suddenly collapsed, stricken by severe pain. Cha, pretending to be his fiancée, consulted his doctor and learned that Suho was terminally ill and rapidly losing his vision. Remembering his promise to marry her if he survived, Cha's resentment vanished, replaced by a desperate desire to save him. She convinced Suho to seek treatment abroad, and he agreed, hoping to find a way to help Jihan. Before leaving, Suho organized a farewell gathering for his restaurant staff, personally giving each a small gift, including a necklace for Jihan. For a moment, they connected, though Jihan held back her forgiveness. As she walked alone afterward, a man in black attacked her, knocking her unconscious. Suho later found her phone on the ground and spotted her floating in the ocean. Struggling to reach her, his illness flared, and he eventually sank beneath the waves. Rescuers brought Jihan ashore, but Suho had already passed away. Heartbroken, Jihan blamed Chairman Chan for Suho's death, accusing him of orchestrating the attack meant for her. Even then, Chan denied responsibility, while Cha revealed Suho's illness, leaving everyone in somber silence. Suho's will was read, revealing his love and final thoughts for his family and Jihan. Determined to uncover the truth, Jihan went to the police, demanding an investigation into Suho's death, but they dismissed it as a tragic act of despair. Frustrated, she promised to involve the media. Meanwhile, Chairman Chan, unfazed by his son's death, ordered Director Nam to kidnap Minok. Waking up in captivity, Minok realized that Nam was behind Jihan's assassination attempt. Nam tried to frame Minok by extracting his blood and coercing a confession, but Minok escaped, sought Jihan's forgiveness, and offered to expose the entire truth about the Chan group. Cha, also remorseful over Suho's death, joined forces with Jihan and Minok to bring down Chairman Chan. Cha convinced Chan that Minok had evidence against him, prompting him to order the removal of key documents. Jihan and Minok intercepted the evidence and hid. When Chan and his men arrived, Chan tried to bribe Minok to kill Jihan. To their shock, Minok aimed at Jihan and fired. Jihan collapsed, but only suffered a superficial wound. It had all been a setup to record Chan's bribery attempt. Jihan uploaded the recording online, then held a live stream in a crowded square. She recounted her tragic losses, her mother, sister, and husband, and the corrupt influence of the Chan group. Cha, standing beside her, admitted her own role in Jihan's suffering and sincerely apologized. Confronted with public outrage, Chan was eventually arrested. Although the police initially questioned the video's authenticity, Minok appeared in court with the bribe check and testified against Chan. Cha also confirmed her past actions, though she denied involvement in the detention center fire, which led to Bell's death. In the end, Chairman Chan, Director Nam, Minok, and Kangan Bell faced legal consequences, while Cha was acquitted for lack of direct evidence in Jihan's sister's death. Finally, Jihan opened Suho's last letter, reliving their memories together. For the first time, she fully embraced Suho as her husband, her tears revealing her true feelings. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.